Yo, 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 what's up? It's 𝐂𝐕𝐎𝐑𝐾, and welcome back to this show that remains nameless as of now, as I try to figure out where and what direction this is going. But on this show, we interview people in the health space, in the wellness space, biohacking, mindfulness, basically anyone who's living with intention, improving people's quality of life. Like, I want to talk to them, I want to pick their brain, I want to get inside their head. And today we got a very exciting show. We're going to be speaking with Samantha Skelly, who is the founder of not one, but two companies, including Hunger for Happiness and Pause Breathwork. Sam's a good friend of mine, and we've done some video work in the past before. And so in this interview, I'm going to dive deep into, she doesn't even know what we're going to talk about.
I don't know what's coming.
But we're going to dive deep into what she's up to right now, which is growing this company, Pause Breathwork. And really what I want to know is what she's learned about breathwork since she's started this company. And my hopes is that, you know, if you deal with stress, if you deal with anxiety, if you're a high achiever and you're like me, that we're always trying to do more, we're always trying to grow and be more. Like, what it requires of us is greater states of being and different levels of ourselves. So I have some questions that I personally, selfishly want to get answered, and we're going to get those for you guys as well. Before we get into the show, I just want to announce that we have our very first sponsor, which is the Prehab Dojo from my good friend Skip Kelly. Shout out to Skip. So if you're in pain, if you're struggling with injuries, or if you just want to develop a better relationship with your body and you want to learn how to not only lift more and increase your strength, but also just like make sure you don't hurt yourself, then this is the perfect program for you. And we're actually giving away a free track. Think of it as mindfulness for your muscles, meditation for your muscles. It's super cool. It's like you put on the track, you listen to it. It's like a guided meditation, except you're doing these little micro exercises that will completely transform the way that you move and also the way that you feel. Skip talks about this thing called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is a chemical that gets released in your brain, and it's the precursor to serotonin, dopamine, all the happy chemicals. And this happens when we do these exercises. So go check it out. There's a link in the description, or you can go to prehabdojo.com/𝐂𝐕𝐎𝐑𝐾 and download a free track, experience it for yourself, and let me know how it goes. So without further ado, let's get into the show. Sam, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited to be chatting with you. It's been so long. And we got
we got
cacao.
cacao. Oh.
Yeah, you guys don't know about this cacao life, though.
Oh my God, it's so good. Last time we shot, we had cacao. And so when you said, do you have any cacao? I was like, oh my God, yes. I haven't had it in so long.
Yeah. So, Sam, I'm not going to tell everyone about your backstory because they can learn that stuff on other podcasts, and you've told it a lot of times and in different vehicles and on different platforms. So I'm also going to link up to a video where you can watch the story that I created with Sam about how she started this breathwork company. I'm going to post it on YouTube so you can check it out if you want to learn more. Cool. But I've been experimenting with breathwork for the last couple of years, and the way that I was introduced to it was through Wim Hof, who many people know.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And when I experienced it, it changed everything for me because I was really struggling with panic attacks and anxiety and what felt like tremors and all this crazy stuff that was psychologically really messing me up. And it helped me down-regulate my nervous system and take control of my physiology, and it just made me feel happy. And breathwork is so powerful in that way. And I've recently been doing SRI breathing through the teachings of Donnie Epstein from the network chiropractic stuff. And
he's awesome too.
There's just such a wormhole of like different types of breathwork, and that can be used for so many different reasons. So I want you to share with me what was the first modality that you were introduced to, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, the first modality was holotropic breathing, which is so incredibly intense and so beautiful and powerful. I was in Bali, and that's when I first discovered it, and I wasn't looking for it. It was one of these things where, you know, you get exactly what you need, the medicine that is just perfect for your nervous system, but you didn't know you needed it. Breathwork was for sure one of those things for me. And when I first went to go do the class, I was like, what is this? This is just breathing. Like, I've been breathing for, at that point, 20 years. I'm like, I got this. It's totally easy. But what I experienced through doing the holotropic breath work is I could feel the entire spectrum of emotionality, not just anxiety and numbness. I struggled with an eating disorder for a while, so I was just feeling really like numb in my system. And when I began to integrate breath work and do that first session in Bali, I'm like, whoa, like my body can feel so many things, not just anxiety. And from then I was hooked, and I never thought that I would create my own modality and my own body of work, but that's what happened. So I went and did every certification on the planet. And
tell me, what certifications did you take? I'm super curious.
Rebirthing, holotropic breathing. There's a alchemy of breath, a live breath over in London, the national discovery of breath. So there's just like multiple ones. There was one in Joshua Tree, which is Michael Stone, who is part of the holotropic family, if you will. So I just geeked out. I'm like, I gotta go to every single one. I have to train with every single person. And I went to all these different mentors until I realized that, wow, this is all so powerful. And I created a way of doing it in my own practice that wasn't present in all the other modalities. And I really loved it. And I was creating my own breathwork meditations for me. I would go down to the studio, not to release and not to promote or nothing. I just wanted to do it in my own way. So I created a new body of work around it that I was just using.
Were you doing that while you were like, were you thinking about starting the company at all?
No.
You were just doing this while you were running
Hungry for Happiness. Yeah. So I was doing it while I was running Hungry for Happiness, and I was just doing it for my own personal experience because I was like, this is so powerful. And there's something about listening to your voice in meditations that's really cool. I don't know. It just makes it more real. It's like, wow, that's me. Anyway, so I then began to share it with my Hungry for Happiness community. And at that point, we had tens of thousands of people in the community. And I was like, you guys, in order to heal the relationship with your body, like I've found this thing and it's helping me so much. And so I was just sharing it with them, and my community was just going gangbusters on it. They're like, this is the most amazing thing ever. I'm like, I know, like the world needs to know about this. And so I still didn't get the hit, right? I still didn't understand. And then it wasn't until probably 2 years ago now, because it was right before we created that video. I was driving from LA to San Diego, and it was just so clear. It was like, you need to teach the world to breathe, and that was the message. And on that particular day, as soon as that message came in, there was like fireworks on the highway, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, what? And it was almost as if the universe was like, you finally got it.
So I don't want to skip over this because I feel like what I've discovered through interviewing so many people, not just in this format, but in the format that I've been for years, that the truth and the magic is always in between the details.
Yeah.
And so
I love that.
You said that you were going to see all these experts, right? You wanted to learn everything under the sun, which I'm very similar, hence like this show, right? And like I basically am setting up a business to get paid to learn about all these things. And what I want to know is, like, what were the distinctions that you started making when you started going to different practitioners, different experts, and like, what conclusions were you drawing on your own after going to these different people?
So what I realized was I was really craving, I'm very outcome driven and I'm very results driven in life, right? I'm like, okay, why am I doing this thing? What's the outcome? Why am I, right? And so that keeps me out of just like doing busy work, right? Yeah. So everything that I do, I have like my key outcomes, whether that's for the week or the day or the quarter or the year. And then I get to ask myself, okay, is this directly related to one of my results? And if not, I'm not doing it. And so I kind of applied that to breathwork in a way. And rather than just breathing and just sort of seeing what happens, I designed the body of work from a very a set place. So I was like, okay, today I want to work on self-love, and I'm going to breathe that into my body and breathe that intention and that frequency and feel that and think that and be that and become that state of self-love. And then the next day I'm like, I want to change the relationship I have to pain in my body. Rather than feeling anxiety and wanting to push it away, I'm going to create a track that helps me understand that pain is actually my friend. And so that was the first distinction that I wasn't really seeing in any of the other bodies of work, of how can we have something that we struggle with and put it into our life and actually have that as the intention versus just open breath work, which is a lot of what is on the market right now. And so the app that's coming out in a few months, it's like a buffet. It's like, what are you struggling with? Is it anger, resentment? Do you want more gratitude, more compassion? And so we get to choose that. So that's the first distinction. The second distinction I found was there wasn't a lot of diversity in the breath patterns. A lot of them were very, very similar. So then I thought, wait a second, what if we were to manipulate the breath in a certain way to have deeper experiences or lighter experiences, right? So we can have like a meditative experience that's super deep and blast us out into the ethers, or we can have more of an integrative experience where the breath is lighter and it's actually just something that we don't go into an altered state of consciousness. We sort of just remain more here, if that makes sense. So then I began to practice with my breath of like, okay, what would a really intense breath be like? If we take speed and depth into consideration, what would a mild breath be like? And what would like a moderate breath be like? So I developed this line of like different breath patterns and breath blends that is then paired with the intention. The last thing is having a really, really, really being very mindful of the music and looking at the beats per minute and pairing the music with the intention. So if for instance, one of our tracks is to release anger. So having a higher beat per minute, lots of tribal to really get the body, because the body is so susceptible when we're in that state to musicality and how that affects emotionality. So those are the three distinctions between the other bodies of work on the market.
So what's the science behind breath work?
So essentially what we're doing is we are hyperoxygenating the brain. So we're bringing more oxygen in. Think of it like hyperventilating, but it's oftentimes what happens with hyperventilation is it's like you get scared and you're like, right? This is conscious. So we're adding more oxygen into the blood. We go into something called respiratory alkalosis, which is making the blood more pH, which changes our state. And when we're in that state, we release the mind, we can get into the intuitive body.
Why does that happen?
Because we're breathing out more carbon dioxide. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're building these new techniques of like, okay, I want to be in this state or I want this type of experience. How did you design that?
How did I design it?
Yeah.
Great question. You know what I did for months on end? I'd get up at 5:30 in the morning. It was in this room. I would light candles. I would light incense and I would put music on and I would just do breath work and then channel curriculum. And I'm like, where's this coming from? I'm like, what's going on here? And I would just take that whiteboard that's over there and I would just write things. And like, I was like a mad scientist with it. I'm like, I want to create something that's like, that people can use. And the thing that I kept asking myself is how can I create something that so easily integrates into their life? They don't need any extra time. They don't need to, change their lifestyle. They just need to incorporate this into their life. And so I really looked at my consumer and I was like, what do they really need? They need that moment of peace. They need that moment of pause, right? To like pause and breathe and shift their nervous system to another state. Because when we're all jacked up and we're running on adrenaline and we're being reactive, we make such dumb decisions. But when we can take like a minute to shift our nervous system and have a different perspective, we get back in alignment.
It's so interesting because just from my experience of you, that I find that your energy is really nice to be around. And to hear that you used to struggle with anxiety and like these things, like I would never, ever guess that.
That's funny.
And also, I think it probably has a lot to do with breathing every day and all these practices, right?
Yeah. I kind of call it like clearing out the emotional garbage. We're all so emotionally constipated. And the reason why people's energy is not nice to be around is because they have just junk in their system, right? And so when we can use the breath to breathe that out, we get back into clarity, we get back into balance. So it just becomes easy and peaceful because ultimately we're not designed to struggle. We're designed to play and have fun and be peaceful and just like enjoy life. It doesn't have to be so hard. But we've designed a culture and a society where we're very addicted to struggling. We're very addicted to overworking, overanalyzing, overperforming, blah, 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 like so much that we forgot the art of living. And that is ultimately what I'm committed to on a deeper level with this mission.
What does that mean to you, the art of living?
The art of living is understanding like what actually matters and live your life in according to what brings you joy.
What matters to you?
Love and family and adventure and travel and nature and, you know, even something like you and I making a cup of cacao together and just like sharing that moment of like, this is so awesome, right? And just like conversations and connecting and looking someone in the eye and seeing them for who they are without labels and projections and judgments. Living to me is experience. It's adrenaline. It's trying new things. It's being creative. Living to me is in the face of getting shat on by whatever, just to be like, I've got this, I can pivot, I can make this work, I can be resourceful. Who do I have to be in order to really handle this? You know, my dad always said, never ask for a lighter load, ask for a stronger back. And I think I've always just really adapt that. And the stronger I am, the easier life becomes and the more I get to live. So that's why I'm such an advocate for personal development and spiritual development, because when I'm like really emotionally strong, I can handle anything. And when I'm really emotionally strong, I realize that nothing actually matters that much. And that for me is like that disconnection. It's not like, it's not avoidance, but it's this healthy space that I put between me and reality to go, all right, there could be some shitty stuff happening in the external world, but I'm still safe. I'm still cool. I'm still fine. Everything's happening for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have noticed in my own experience that when I get into that frenetic state or I'm feeling stressed, like it's really hard to remind yourself like where you're at. Mm-hmm. And the best way that I know how to do it is like I just go for a walk.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so funny you say that. I literally have on my laptop, it says, go for a walk. Because I'll just get in these states where I'm like, I gotta get other things done. And I'm like, just a little walk around the block. It's like, wow.
It's interesting because walking's become a big part of my health journey. And the reason being is I find walking to be like a spiritual practice.
Totally.
And I talk about this a lot with people who are close to me, which is, and I always invite them onto walks with me.
So good.
And the reason being is like, when you walk, you change your breath.
Yeah.
Right. And this is so funny because when I moved to San Diego, I feel like I was very closed off spiritually, and it wasn't until, of course, San Diego does that to you, right? It's a vortex, you can't help it.
Stay 5 minutes and you'll change your name to Rainbow Moon Dancer.
Exactly, and you'll be on your way to Burning Man. But you know, it was after actually I did network chiropractic. I was at David Meller's event, and you know, I saw what he was doing with these guys, and then he put me on the table when he worked with me, and he sort of cracked me open, and then my understanding of spirituality has changed, and right now my truth is that spirituality means nothing more than breath, to breathe, right? Because what is it? Aspira, right? Is Latin root of to breathe, which is
yes,
yeah. So it's just weird, and so the way that I make the connection is like anytime I am feeling stressed or I'm feeling anxious, I go for a walk because it changes my breathing. As soon as I change my breathing, it changes my state. And I feel like spirituality is just your experience of life, right? And so your breath is in control of how you experience life.
Yeah. That's really funny. I'm laughing because I can remember like one of the first times I met you, which was probably when you first moved to San Diego. Yeah. We had an interview for our last video that we did together.
Sure.
And I think I said something about chakras. You're like, nah, none of that. You're like, we're not going there, okay? None of that.
Yeah.
That was so awesome.
Yeah, it's gotten under my skin.
So hilarious.
So for the people watching or the people listening, whenever I decide to convert this into an audio format, you know, for me, I was thinking about, I'm doing a lot of traveling right now. Life is pretty busy right now, a lot of growth happening. What particular techniques have you designed for maybe this type of season of life?
Yeah, great question. So I think I love sandwiching my day with clarity. I love waking up and being really clear and not bringing forth any residual anxiety from my dreams into my day. And I love closing my day off, releasing, I did my best. I'm going to let the rest. What's that saying? Maybe I just made that up. I don't know. Whatever. So
let the bygones be bygones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So starting my day just from this place of like just extreme clarity, ending my day the same way. So when I go to bed, I'm resting and I'm feeling amazing. So 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening. And when I'm traveling as well, doing this exact, and it's 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I do 10 minutes. It's effective in 5 as well. It just clears out like everything that you're holding on to, especially when you're in different environments with different energies. We're taking on energy constantly, right? And we as humans, so many of us have an inability to process emotionality to the degree that is really healthy, especially when we have stories like it's not cool to cry and girls shouldn't get angry and all that kind of stuff. We're constantly taking on experiences, but we're not metabolizing them and processing them. So they're just getting stuck in our nervous system. And even when we just breathe it out, we can begin to chip away at that residual suppression. So a breath practice, like 2 breaths in, 1 breath out, just using the mouth, belly, chest out through the mouth, and just staying with that practice for 3 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you have is so powerful.
Okay. So what has been the craziest experience that either you've experienced or you've seen someone else experience after, I'm sure you've been in the woodwork with these crazy breath people? What have you seen? And what's
Yeah, gosh, I've seen everything. I've seen it all. I'm going to start with my experiences because this is pretty cool. I'm a very visual person by nature. I think that's part of why I love being an entrepreneur, because I download such clear visions of what things get to be. And then I love doing the work and putting it all together. And so I really have a lot of visions for every area of my life, whether that's my relationship or my finances or health or whatever it is. So when I'm in breath, I get a lot of visuals, like all the time. And this is why I'm excited for year 2020, because 2020 clear vision. I'm like, yes, this is gonna be the best year ever. Anyways, so a really cool experience that I had was I got to see my feminine lineage from my mom, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and in their bodies, I saw the pain that was passed down from all of these women. And mind you, this is just using my breath, no psychedelics, no ayahuasca, nothing. This is just my breath. And the message was, it's your responsibility to process. So it was as if all of this trauma, this pain, this anxiety, this stress, this suppression, I was born with it, and it's now my responsibility to process it through all of the work that I get to do here. And I'm like, wow, that really makes sense. That really resonates. So that was something very cool. And then this was weird a few nights ago. This was really weird. A few nights ago, this is like super weird.
Here we go. Just the good stuff.
I've been coaching a lot recently. I've been training a lot of facilitators, and I've just been teaching a lot. And I'm like, I'm gonna go do a breathwork session. And so I go down the road to this woman here where I live, and she's amazing. And I have this very clear vision again of my family in like 10 years. And I see it clearly. It's like 3 kids, 2 girls, 1 boy, my husband. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so crazy. Like I see it so clearly. And I saw me 10 years older and where we are. And I'm like, this is intuition. It's like we got to feel the hunches and we got to feel this stuff because there's a higher order at play and we just need to pay attention. And that stuff happens to me all the time in breath work. And it could be a shorter duration as well. Like I'll have a vision of like something that's going to happen in work. And then it literally happens a month later. I'm like, I knew this already. Like we are powerful beyond measure. Some things that have happened in session, oh my gosh, literally everything, like a man like screaming and just processing like deep anger.
Why does that happen? Why do people have these like visceral experiences? Like I know Wim Hof talks about, you stimulate the pineal gland and then like it opens up all the chemicals to like dump into your system and stuff like that. But like,
so we have incredible mechanisms within our system called protectors that protect us from actually recalling a lot of memory. And so those protectors in us are working all day long to not make us remember things or block memories or block feelings. Well, when we remove all of those protectors, when we get out of our mental brains and into our intuition, we unlock an intelligence that is always there, but it's muted because we're afraid to actually feel it and acknowledge it, right? So once we remove the veil, if you will, we're like, oh shit. Like my dad did this to me when I was really young, and now I'm processing all this anger, and I never had a space to process this anger, and now I do. Or, this person did this to me, and I'm holding this, or whatever it is. And so when the veil is lifted and the protectors are no longer working so hard to not make us feel, we have access.
So what I'd love to know is, what's your vision with all this breathwork stuff? And like, where are you taking the company? And like,
Here's what's interesting about this. I'll tell you. I don't have a vision for it, but it just keeps telling me what it needs. And this is a little weird. It wasn't my idea to create this company. It wasn't my idea to scale it to what it is today. In just a year, it's already over $1 million company. It's like, this was not my idea. Thank you. But it's not something I'm like, oh, here's my business plan. This is how I'm going to execute. It has been so intuitive since day one. So the vision that it has, let's just say that, is basically to teach breathwork to every single human on the planet who has an iPhone. That's the message I keep getting. And so when I first heard that, I was like,
fuck the Android users, right?
actually, a phone instead of phone.
A smartphone.
Exactly. There you go. Smartphone. Fuck those Android people. I really don't like people who have Android because then they can't do that. Man, iMessage is the jam. I just love to anyway. So that was what came through, and I was like, okay, well, what do I get to build for that to be a reality? And it was like, obviously a mobile app. So Pause, we're coming out with V1 of the mobile app, and the whole thing I want to do with that is just have that in everyone's back pocket. So at any point in time, rather than being reactive and feeling like they are alone and forgotten about and unloved, they can hop into their phone and go, oh, hang on a second. I have the ability to harness these feelings of love and contentment and joy and bliss with the power of my breath. How amazing. So that, in addition to a community where people can feel heard and seen. And so whatever that community looks like, I'm not a fan of Facebook, but another community, I want a platform where people can share their journeys, because the truth is so much comes up with breath work. You have a journey, you have visions like I just shared, and I'm like, what do I do with this information now? So I want to develop a community where all of my Pause Breathwork facilitators are in there supporting and helping and guiding and letting people feel safe and seen. So the answer is I just want everyone who has a phone to be able to have access to this and just begin to heal their emotions and feel safe with their emotions.
That's cool.
Thanks.
And it's super cool that, I get what you're saying about it not being you either. Yeah.
What's going on? I was like, this is inconvenient. I just want to be a comedian.
So I wouldn't just drink cacao and watch Netflix. I want to drink
cacao and just write jokes all day. Maybe go down my water slide. But I keep getting these taps on the shoulder, and I'm like, cool, I'm up for it. Like with Hungry for Happiness, I was trying to be a real estate agent, like that wasn't meant to be what it is today, which it's beautiful and amazing. And I'm so grateful, but it wasn't the plan. The plan wasn't to have Pause be a company at all. I'm like, here's a thing that I love, right? And so.
Well, I think that's where the best ideas come from, right? Like when I think about what I was doing with the emotional storytelling stuff, like there wasn't someone doing that before, excluding one guy who I sort of modeled, but he was doing it in a totally different way for a totally different purpose. And I was just like, I believe that telling stories in this way is really powerful. And I'm putting this into the marketplace, whether or not there's demand or not. And then all of a sudden the demand was there. Yeah. And now I see people trying to make videos like that all the time, you know, which is funny. And so with you, I want to go off on a different tangent really quickly, which is intuition. It's a very fluffy word, and it gets tossed around a lot. What does intuition mean to you?
Intuition is, so I'm going to explain this in a framework because I love working in frameworks.
Yeah.
I love taking fluffy concepts and like putting them in frameworks so they're digestible. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So at any point in time, we have three, I call them pillars of connection. So three parts of our body that is speaking to us.
Okay.
So we have our mind, which we're all very identified with. It's like the mental, the chatter, the noise, the you're not good enough, you should go harder. It's that crap, We're like, get out of here. Then we have our emotions, our fears and our anxiety and our overwhelm and our stress and our joy and any sensation, any frequency that we call an emotion. That's sort of like the second layer. And then the core layer is our intuition. It's the expansion and contraction. Yeah. So it's like, should I go to Italy tomorrow? It's like my body's like, no, that's not a good idea, Sam. We're not going there tomorrow. Right. But it's like, should I work out tomorrow? Yes. And so we have this internal mechanism that communicates to us in expansion and contraction all day long. Right. The reason why it's so difficult to achieve insight and wisdom from the intuition is because we're so identified with the mental, and sometimes it's hard to quiet down the mental enough to actually hear the intuition. Now, breathwork is exactly how we do that. When we enter in breathwork, we don't have to think about quieting the mind down. The body just does it for us. And that's the beauty of it. So I'm a shitty meditator. I suck at it. I can't do it. I sit there and like, and I just like, I'm thinking about all the things. Meditation is beautiful after breath work. And I will say, I've never been trained by like a really good meditation teacher, and I know there's tons out there, so I'm willing to learn better. But for me, I find it challenging, whereas breath work does the work to clear the mind and clear the emotion so I can achieve access to my intuition. Now, when I achieve access to my intuition in a breathwork meditative journey, I then have visceral intelligence. So I know, okay, Sam, this is an expanded feeling. This is a contracted feeling. And then when I'm going throughout my day, I do this with everything. Do I want cacao? Do I want to go work out? Do I want to eat this? Do I want to produce this funnel? Do I want to hire this person? Do I want to fire this person? Do I want to go on a date? Do I not want to go on a date? Right? So I get to ask myself these questions, and the first thing that will answer is my mind, and then I let my mind simmer, and then I actually feel into the feeling, the yes or no. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And that's a good way to think about it. Because, you have this saying like, trust your gut, or like, listen to your heart, right? Or whatever. And it's hard to sometimes like actually internalize that, instead of it just being like a concept that you hear someone say. And I think by doing breath work, you do get into your physiology and you get into your body. And if you haven't done breath work, like if you haven't experienced it, then definitely do it, and we'll hook you guys up with something, I'm sure, at the end.
I've got like a thing.
Yeah, so there's a thing, and we'll give you that thing, so that you can experience it. But like when you do go inside your body, your mind definitely works in a different way, and you make decisions differently. And I definitely know that. And like even before a sales call, like I'll do a certain breath pattern.
Awesome.
And it definitely helps me communicate in a different way.
Absolutely.
Right? Or if I'm about to have a charged conversation with my partner, then, I'll do a certain breath pattern, and then that charge isn't there anymore.
Totally.
Right? It's like this tool is not something that's so esoteric or woo-woo or out there. It's very grounded in practicality from my perspective and my experience. And so when you start finding these different techniques, you can start using them for different reasons. So for example, the relationship conversation, or the sales call, or let's say you're about to go on stage or whatever. And so it's about exploring what type of modality is applicable in what situation, and then having that as like sort of like a toolkit.
Totally.
Because I'm sure you experimented with so many different things, and you use different patterns and different breaths for different reasons. And I heard you say on another podcast that every state of being has its own breath pattern.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah. Oh, you listened. Every single emotional state has a corresponding breath pattern.
Yeah.
right? So when we're highly anxious and we're in anxiety, we're like we're chest breathing. It's really shallow. And even when we breathe in that way, the body will go, we're anxious, we're in danger, something bad's about to happen. But when we're breathing like this, and we even like let out an audible sigh, and we're like, it's more like belly breath. Like you're even smiling. You're like, oh, it feels so good. That has a corresponding emotional state, right? It's like, oh, I'm just so relaxed. So we can manipulate our emotional states when we use our breath. So we can understand, okay, how does my body breathe when I'm relaxed, when I'm in joy, when I'm whatever it is, and how can I choose that breath pattern to breathe now so that I can bring on that state. So if I'm feeling anxious or I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm like, all right, first notice, okay, where's my breath right now? Like, what's the state of my breath? And it's normally like,
hold on. I got to stop you.
Yeah.
Because I think right before that, there's like some magic, which is, what is your trigger for reminding yourself that? Because that's the hardest part, right? Is like, we all know we should do the thing.
Yeah.
But when we're in it.
Yeah. That's easy. Anytime I'm feeling anxious, I'm either in my head, I'm thinking about the future, or in the past. Anytime I feel anxiety, right? So that's my trigger. Anxiety is my trigger to start breathing, because we're not designed to feel anxious. Anxiety is just data. All right, Sam, data, pay attention. What's going on here, right? We are not designed to chronically live in that state, but most people do. Yeah.
What kind of questions do you ask yourself?
Who do I have to be in order to achieve X outcome? How can I be more loving and compassionate in this moment? What is the good in this? What am I deeply grateful for right now? What do I love about myself? How can I be kind to my inner child? How can I be kind to myself? How can I create impact in this moment? How can I meet the needs of my partner? How can I make his day better? What's my dad doing, and is he free to hang out? I think the questions that I ask myself, again, going back to like being results focused and outcome focused, I know that for me to be my best, live my best, I love feeling joyful, fun, playful, excited. So what questions do I get to ask myself in order to get in that state?
So I love that about you. And like, I definitely want to cultivate that for myself. And I want others to be able to cultivate that for themselves as well. So like, my thinking behind my question is like, what's your pattern for cultivating that state?
I just play.
Yeah.
Like, I just love playing. I just love it. It's so fun for me. And it puts me into, like, I don't want to have to work hard to be in a state of bliss.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to work hard to get there. I just want to be there. And for me, play allows me to be in that state, comedy, all this stuff.
So how do you play?
Oh my God. I love having like dance parties. So I'll just like put on music and like mess around. I mean, I use social media as my channel of play. Like this morning I just like had this like unicorn head, and I like put it on my hand, and I like did one of my ads, just like, I'm like, hey guys, it's Trixie the unicorn, swipe up for the free whatever. I just do shit like that. So I use my social media as like a modality to do that. The other day I went to like the trampoline park, and I just like flipped around and mucked about in like the foam pit. That was really fun. Painting, dancing, singing, expressing. Like anytime I'm expressing myself, I'm like, it feels playful for me. So whether I'm playing my guitar, or I'm singing, or I'm writing poetry, or I'm dancing, or creating, or painting, or doing something with my hands, or whatever it is, it's like, I find that so fun. I love playing pranks on people. So I prank my team all the time. They hate it. No, they actually do love it. But I'll just like send people like stupid ass gifts, and they open it like, what the fuck is this? And I just like get such a giggle out of it. It's just so fun to do that kind of stuff, or like prank them in real life, like just play pranks. I don't know. I just love it. I love it. I love going to comedy shows. I love writing comedy. I love delivering comedy. That's all fun for me.
Yeah, because I feel like a big part of your culture, of your company, and about like everything that you're up to, like has that sort of imbued in it as well, right? Like I haven't been to your events, but I bet they're a lot of fun.
They're so fun. They're so fun. We just screw around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you not told the world yet that you wish people would ask you about?
Oh, that's such a good question. Oh my gosh. What do I not get asked that I want to express or tell? I think, oh my gosh, that's a really good question. That's a really good question. Holy crap. I think like what my vision for my family is. I never get asked that question, and it's very near and dear to my heart. And it's something that it's so funny. I am years away from having kids and getting married, but I have the most crystal clear vision of like what I want to create and what I want to do. And I just want to travel with them. And I want, I felt so suppressed in school. Like I was never the smart kid. I got like C's and I tried so hard sometimes, and then other times I just didn't care. Like I just didn't feel like I always had a story like I'm not smart enough because school just wasn't designed for me. And as soon as I got out of school, everyone was going to university, and I'm like, see ya, not doing that. And I just started creating, and I just started making businesses and adding value and just, doing my thing. And I want to give kids the opportunity to just fully express themselves and be who they are. And I don't think the school system's like set up for that. And so I would love to just like homeschool my kids in some way and just let them be them, because I really believe that the beings that are coming on the planet now are so evolved and so wise and wiser than us. And I know my kids will teach me way more than I'll ever teach them. So if I can provide a container for them not to be suppressed, but allow their gifts to be really expressed, I'm so excited for that. Yeah. And I'm so excited to just like get married and do all that shit. I'm scared I'm scared to like figure out like, how am I going to do that while running 2 companies with a team of 30, but I'll figure it out soon.
Yeah, it'll work itself out.
Yeah, something will happen.
The breath will take care of it.
Exactly. Sam, just do breath work every single day.
If you do breath work, all your problems will just go away.
Exactly. Any problem you have, just breathe it out. It's fine.
So I'm kind of jumping around a bit, but I think it's part of the nature of what I'm trying to do, and part of the nature that I feel from you too, is we're all trying to figure stuff out. We're all trying to get the outcomes that we want. And I do feel that when we get greater control over our physiology and our emotions, that we can get closer and closer to that. And it, like you said, it doesn't have to be a huge lifestyle change. It's just a simple practice that you could do 10 minutes a day at any point in your life, or at any point in your day for the rest of your life. So how does someone get started, and where can they access this thing that we mentioned? This
secret breath work.
Yeah.
If you head over to breathwork, no, that's wrong.
Head over to breathwork.
Control Alt Delete. Control Alt Delete that.
Minus.
Pausebreathwork.com/free audio. Then we'll have access to a 30-minute audio practice. You will then be on my mailing list. And we are launching the Pause app soon, which is going to be so amazing.
And we'll link all this up down below so you can get it.
So you'll find out when we're launching that, and you can try it for free and hang out on it and see if it is a massive benefit to your life. And if it is, then you can keep using it, and we'll keep updating it and making epic stuff on it. So I'm super pumped for that. I've never actually like had a product that was this accessible. Like most of the things I do are certifications and, facilitator trainings, which are, thousands of dollars. So to have something that I can give to the masses that is just so financially affordable and so accessible, it makes me so happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. I feel the same way. As I grow and as things get bigger for my brand, I think that I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I'm going to launch a product. Yeah. Once I see the gap in the marketplace and like what I feel is right for me.
What about like socks?
Yes. Well, or like, have you seen these?
I know, I saw them.
These Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader socks.
Perfect. Perfect. Or like ice cream cones. Like 𝐑𝐿 is now doing ice cream cones. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
They're gluten-free ice cream cones.
Exactly. It's gluten-free, dairy-free. I would buy one. I would
I would
me
hope
up.
so.
Put me on a subscription.
Yes.
And then I'll take my own binge eating course to help me like not eat your ice cream.
Oh my God. That's not right. That's not right.
Oh, that's funny.
I see breath work, like the future of breath work. I can see it being as big as meditation.
Oh, for sure. 100%. It just hasn't had its time in the sun, you know? That's my intention for Pause is like, all right, let's just mainstream this thing because it's so powerful. Like, even if you just read the testimonials from just the free audio that I put out, it's ridiculous what people say after. They're like, first time I did it, I've never felt my entire life, and I finally did it, and I feel everything, and I just am so happy. Like, people are so excited at the, you know, potential and possibility of their feeling their own emotions. That's all we want to do as humans is just feel, right? So when we can have something that's like, I'm just going to breathe, and so I can access my body and I can feel, it's like that's really all we want. It's really all we want.
A quote that sticks out to me that David Meller shared with me, which I think came from Donnie Epstein, is the greatest suffering is to not experience suffering.
Oh my gosh, yes.
What does that mean to you?
Well, so that means a few things to me. I want to make the distinction between pain and suffering.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not sure which one he's relating to in this, but I'll explain it in my terms. I think pain is a beautiful emotion that we get to feel. Pain is a catalyst to growth. I think there's a lot of unnecessary manufactured suffering in the world that we just are addicted to.
Why?
You know?
Why are we addicted to
We're
it?
addicted to it because it's social conditioning. It's like things are hard. Life has to be hard. I'm overweight. And works hard. And there's not enough money. Like, it is the social conversation that's happening in the world, but it's all an illusion. You know, it's one big illusion. Like, when we really strip back the layers and look at who we actually are as human beings and how the universe works, it's freaking magnificent. But we don't know, and we're not curious enough to discover it. Not all of us, but some people, most people are not. So they're living inside this box, they're living inside this illusion, and they are suffering because life sucks when you don't know the laws of the universe and you don't know that it's like we live in an abundant universe and there's just so much magic every single day. But when we're stuck in that illusion, we don't have the, you know, I don't know if it's willingness or I don't know if it's access to education. I don't really believe that because the internet has everything. But when we're just stuck in that day to day, we're suffering. But pain is a beautiful thing. And I think we spend so much time trying to avoid pain. And what we know to be true is it's the greatest catalyst to growth. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been sort of obsessed with this idea because I've experienced the opposite of, you know, what would it be like to build a business and be very like mindful and like have it be very easy and to have things just work. And I mean, maybe that's naive to even say.
I don't think so.
Okay, so great. Someone can agree with me.
Yeah.
So like I wrote it down this summer. I went to my Valley University and I went to this talk with Vision where he talked about core values, and then I dove deep into some introspection, and what I saw and like what I wanted, what I deeply desired was like, I'm sick and tired of things being hard.
Yeah.
Things being
It's the illusion,
a
dude.
grind, right?
It's the illusion.
And it's crazy how there's different stories, whether it's from society or whether it's from our own experiences or like whatever, you know, that I feel that I've been stuck in that.
Yeah.
So like my goal and sort of the path that I'm wanting for myself is like, I want to build what I'm building and I want to enjoy the ride.
Totally.
And I want to live like with peace and with flow and with ease. Does not mean that I won't experience these other emotions, but like 80-20,
Totally.
I'd like to
100%.
So like, you know, personally, what advice would you give me? Not that you don't have those experiences either, but like what advice would you give me to like live through that way?
Yeah.
And build that way.
Yeah, totally. So I think to start with, just like, anytime we want something to come into, I always call it from imagination into formation, right? I'm going to imagine this and then I'm going to form it. And we form it through energy. We form it through the creation of like, I'm going to create this in my mind and bring it into the real world. So I always love this concept of like fusing realities together. If I was to, because I really believe we can have it all, however we want to do it. So if I was to run a $10 million company and it was to be fun, easy, flowy, playful, and amazing, what would that look like, right? So I'll create that in my mind. So I'm like, okay, I'm at the office. The office is here in San Diego. We have our team of 100 there, or however many, whatever. And we've got all these games, and it's so fun and it's so playful. And I look up on the computer screen and I'm seeing like, okay, we've made, $1 million in revenue at a 30% profit margin. Wow, we're doing so amazing. And so like, I'll literally just create this in my mind. So my subconscious is like, oh, is this real? So I'll create it first. We can't get there if we don't first create it. So I spend a ton of time in imagination.
How much time?
Like all the time.
Yeah.
I'll just be sitting on the couch and my roommate will come down. She's like, "What? It looks like I'm doing nothing, right?" Well, she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm imagining and I'm creating right now." And it looks like I'm sitting there like picking my ass. I'm just like not doing anything, but I'm creating, I'm visualizing, I'm feeling. So I have the visual of like, what does it look like to fuse those realities and have, I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass, but $10 million. Oh my, so much ass talk.
What's going on? Is there something you want to talk about, Sam?
I could tell a funny story right now, but I don't know if it's that appropriate.
Okay. We'll take that offline.
It's not about anything ass related.
It's the cacao.
It's the cacao. It's got me going crazy. Crazy. What did I put in here? What was I talking about? Ass stuff?
Yeah.
No, okay.
No, imagining.
Imagination,
yeah.
right? So imagining and visualizing it. And then what does it feel like? What's it going to feel like to have a business that's abundant with an epic culture, amazing clients, epic profit margins, no investors, just 100%. I still have 100% ownership, so I still have 100% control. It's fun. It's playful. I have free time. What does that feel like? So now I know what it looks like. What does that feel like? And I just begin to create that. And I think without that first step that so many people miss, we can't bring it into fruition. So then it's just like, we're throwing darts, hoping for the best. It's the blind leading the blind. We're like wanting to get there, but we're struggling. And, and it doesn't feel good. It's disjointed because we're operating from fear and anxiety, and we're trying to get to a place that requires us to be playful and have fun.
So then do you do breath work, a certain type of breath work, and then go do your imagination?
Yes.
So which one do you do?
It's called the Halo Active. Okay. And literally all it is like in through the nose. So I do that for 3 minutes and then I hold my breath. And something beautiful will happen when you hold your breath. It feels chaotic for the first 10 seconds, and then you'll go into a place of just peace and clarity and just like ease. And from that place, we want to create, because the mind doesn't exist in that place. From that place, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Who am I in it? Let me picture it out. Let me watch it as if it's a movie. Now let me put myself in that movie, and it just becomes so clear. And I did this when I ended a pretty tumultuous relationship, and then during the time of like overcoming that, I did this for a relationship. So I created it in my mind. Okay, if I could have everything that I wanted and more, and I didn't have to sacrifice, what would that be like? And I just create.
So cool.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm gonna go do that.
It's so fun, dude. Like one of my mentors, Keith Cunningham, he has this thing called thinking time, and it's like that. Like he just thinks for a few hours a day. He doesn't do anything. He just thinks, and I do that, but I add in breath work, and I add in imagination, and I add in more of these more spiritual aspects. But it's just that, we're so much more productive when we're not doing things.
Yeah. It's so weird.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's counterproductive.
It's the less,
or it's counterintuitive. I mean, like you would think that you need to be doing more, but
that's the illusion. That's the trap right there.
Wow, guys, did you hear that? Shh.
Don't tell anyone. Just kidding. Tell everyone.
Tell everyone. So I feel like I could continue asking questions like forever.
You're really good at asking questions. Like, this is awesome.
Thank you. But I'm gonna keep it short. We got a couple more questions that I want to make sure I get, and then we'll close out. So, what do you want to do in the next 6 to 12 months? With Pause, with this breathwork stuff, and like, what do you want people to know more than anything, like about what you're doing?
Great question. with Hungry for Happiness, my mission has always been to revolutionize the weight loss industry and help people realize that emotions are such a huge part to the world being overweight and overwhelmed and obesity going through the roof. And we're trying to treat emotional eating and binge eating with dieting, and it's just messing people up. So my vision for that is just more education, more awareness. And I'm realizing more and more that my angle of reaching people is comedy. And I've denied this for so long. You know, it's such a big part of who I am, but I don't let the cat out of the bag very often, because I gotta be professional. It's like, fuck that. No, I just want to have fun. And I think me being in my soul's essence, which is fun and play and developing shows and comedy and stuff, that's the way I'm going to reach people, to help them wake up to this reality that we are in this, you know, trap and this illusion that's not working. And so in the next 6 to 12 months, I just want to double down on just creating content that helps reach people through the modality of comedy, bringing them in and helping and educating them to say, hey, you know what? You can be in a space in your life that feels calm and peaceful and content and self-loving. And you don't have to constantly put yourself on ridiculous diets to get there. In fact, the more that we get into our body and listen to our intuition, we can make healthy choices, and weight loss becomes a result of that, right? Physical weight often is a manifestation of emotional weight. So when we can release emotional weight, the physical weight responds, and we can't do that through dieting. And so that's my big message with Hungry for Happiness. On the Pause side in the next 6 to 12 months is get it out there and have 33,000 users in the next 6 months. That's my goal.
Boom.
I don't know why 33. It just came to me. I was like, this number. So 33,000.
That's all like entrepreneurship is. It's just like, well, this sounds right.
Yeah,
like,
this is like pretty much good.
This is what feels good.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. It's like my business is so feely. They're like, Sam, why did you make that decision? Well, just felt good.
All right.
So yeah, 33,000 users in the next 6 months. Boom.
It's happening.
Yeah, it's happening. It feels good. There's lots of momentum.
Sam Ovens is a friend of mine and a client, and he taught me about this hiring process, because he's been hiring software developers. And he said something really interesting. The best hiring question that he's discovered is, you know, who do you look up to? Who are your sources, right? Because inputs will determine outputs.
So powerful.
Right? So if someone gives you really good answers, like very specific, very poignant, like this person was a huge influence on me, I've learned this, this, and this from them, blah, 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 then you know this person's legit because they've really studied the game, you know? So out of all the people that you learned from and got mentored by and taught by, who had the biggest impact on you, and like why, and like what was their perspective that they shared with you that was so impactful?
Yeah. Oh. Okay. 2 people are coming to mind. Neil Donald Walsh comes to mind. He's just amazing. He has this book called Conversations with God, and he had a conversation with God, and he just completely transformed his life. And he's just an incredible human being with such amazing insight and perspective of what it means to be human and why we're all here. And again, it's like creating space from like the 3D reality and knowing that like there is a higher order, and we're all a part of it, and we can influence and create through our state of being. So he has had a huge impact on me. Amazing human, amazing man. The second person that comes to mind is someone I've been following literally since following on social media since, 16, but listening to his stuff since I was like 12 is Tony Robbins.
Tony.
Yeah. He's just rad, I'm a part of his platinum partnership.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Can we jam on that for a second?
Sure.
Totally. Like, guys, sorry. Like, we're just going to have this conversation now.
Go make yourself a sandwich, okay?
Yeah. So what's up with platinum partnership?
I really love it. It's been such a beautiful deep dive and beautiful commitment to myself. It's a huge time investment and huge everything investment. And despite all that, it's been the greatest thing ever. Not only for the content is next level, just really amazing. The content's wonderful, but more importantly, the relationships that I get to cultivate in that community, because everyone is so heart-centered. And it's huge. There's 300-400 people in there or whatever, but everyone I meet is family. And so I feel like I've gone through this process and I've just made a whole new family. Since I started, my business has doubled. I've had so much ease and grace with hiring. My culture has never been better. The financial blueprint, or the financial health, there it is, of my business is just so strong because I've just learned so much. I went to this finance event up in Whistler that we did with Tony, and like, I shit you not, I like didn't even know what the stock market was like in January. I'm like, what's that thing that people do? It's like a computer game, I don't know. And like, so I walked into this room and Tony started talking about like, I don't know, bonds and stocks. I'm like, what the I don't even know what this is. Like, I was so naive, and then I geeked out, and I've been so interested and just enthralled with that process, and it's just been so cool. And then we went to Maui and we did a relationship trip, which was absolutely incredible, and I loved it. And there was this part of me that was like, I am so sad for everyone who doesn't have this content, because it's everything. How to exist in a relationship, how to be in a relationship is so important. And relationships are such a huge part of our life, and we all thrive on them. We think we want work. What we really want is intimacy and relationships. So that trip was such a eye-opener for me. And, you know, my partner was just like, wow, you should probably stay in Hawaii for like a couple more weeks. You're just completely different now. And I just saw our relationship, and I got to see him in a whole new light. So that was beautiful. It's been an epic journey for sure. I think I joined when I was single. Now that I'm in a relationship, it's a lot of time away from Eric. So next time I join, which I will, it'll be with him.
Yeah. Good,
but yeah, it's rad.
So just to tie this up, what do you want to leave people with breathwork stuff and and pause and all this? I think as I'm exploring this category more and more and more, what I'm realizing is that the answers are usually within, and the answers are usually a lot simpler than we'd like to make it.
Because we're addicted to suffering.
So yeah, we are. So, you know, what do you want to leave people with, and like what have your big realizations been just through this journey, and what do you want to share?
I think ultimately that life is just so easy. It really is. It's so simple. If we know how to play the game, it becomes so simple. If we know how to tap into our bodies and shift our states of being, we're creating everything. Always. Like, if I'm like eating a shit sandwich and I'm having a bad day, I'm like, Skelly, how did you create this? Through your state of being. What didn't you do? What didn't you pay attention to? What did you ignore? What's your intuition talking to? And you're like, I don't want to listen to you, right? So I am always creating my experience. Therefore, I get to take 100% responsibility for my experience. So I'm a very lazy high achiever, you know. I work I work hard on my system, and I work hard on my spirituality and my personal development so that everything else becomes easy, right? When I have a high level of emotional intelligence, again, and something happens with work, it's not the end of the world. I got it. Because I've conditioned myself I don't wake up like this, if that makes sense. Yeah. I wake up and I condition, just like I go to the gym and condition my body, I condition my spirit and my mind, my state of being. And when I go to bed, I do the same thing. So that's all that matters. And I think once we learn the art of conditioning our systems and focusing on what we want, the rest becomes easy. We can handle anything.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Hold on. I just gotta make a distinction for the viewer, the listener, which is like, do you guys see how certain she is in that belief? Life is easy. Work is easy. Your business should be filled with fun and play. And when we have beliefs like that, that's what creates our human experience.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to recognize that and like just take a second to make that distinguishment, because our beliefs are what guide our action and give us the life that we have.
Totally. And we can always look at how things are unfolding in life and ask ourselves, okay, what belief created that? hot mess express over there. You know, we can always look at that. Like when there's shit happening in my life, I'm like, oh God, like rather than trying to put band-aids on bullet wounds and change the behavior or change whatever that thing is, trace it back. What did I believe for that to be in my reality, in my frequency, in my field?
Okay, guys. One last time, Sam, where should people go if they want to breathe, if they want to hang out with you, if they want to like eat a taco? Like, oh my God,
so good. I'm obsessed with tacos. It's a whole situation. So if you want to just like hang out, my address, I'm just kidding. Just come to my house. Just bring tacos. That's all I ask. Yeah. I'm really active on Instagram. So at Samantha Skelly on Instagram. If you want to breathe and try the Pause Breathwork, go to www.pausebreathwork.com/free audio. That's pretty much the two things. Yeah. Those are the things. Those are the things.
So, and if you guys want to learn more about Sam and her story, there's a really cool video that is going to be up on YouTube that we'll link below, and you can learn actually about the whole journey that she went on that was really the initiation of this company, which is really cool. I think it should give you some good insight.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, and it's done by yours truly, so you should definitely watch it.
I want to rewatch it. It's been a while since I've watched that.
Yep. Yeah. So, Sam, thanks so much for taking the time. It's been super fun.
So good.
And I'm sure we'll do more of it.
Yes.
And guys, go give her a follow. Go breathe. Go get in your body, and I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome.
Peace.